Hey everyone, welcome to another conversation, another episode of Conversations Abroad. We're so excited that you're here with us today. We would like to introduce you to one of our dear friends, Kiyomaira.
Hola,
Kiyomaira, where are you?
I am in Mozambique, Africa.
Kiyomaira came here to Mozambique for a few weeks to see ministry on hand here in Mozambique, and we're so thankful that she's here with us. And we said, why not do a podcast together?
Yes, and put me on the spot,
I'm going to put
basically.
you on the spot right now.
Oh no.
Will you share with us a phrase in Portuguese?
Sei. Bom dia, meu nome é Guilmaira. É prazer estar com vocês hoje.
There you go. There you go. It's working out for you. That means
Yes.
you got to stay if you speak Portuguese.
Yes, hopefully.
Oh, hey. So today's conversation that we are having is about church and community, and is church doing enough, and what is the responsibility of the church to help community? And I want to share one scripture verse that really stood out to me when I thought about this. This theme, and it was in Acts chapter 4, verse 32. And it says, all the believers were in one heart and one mind. No one claimed that any of the possessions was their own, but they shared everything they had, which is so cool. They shared everything they had. With great power, the apostles continued to testify to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and God's grace was powerfully at work in them. And this is like the clutch verse. And they were in them, and that there were no needy persons among them. So just think about that. They were starting the church in the book of Acts, right? Over 5,000 people already gave their heart to Jesus, and the community are coming together to meet the needs of each other. And so when I was reading that verse, it makes me think of our local church and our community. Are we doing enough to meet the needs of those around us? Because this verse says there was no needy persons among them. That's mind blowing.
No. You're right. It's so good, and it just goes back to show us that nothing is actually really ours.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we have, everything that we do is all for the glory of God.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if we have things and we're not using them for His glory,
Yeah.
then it means nothing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's so good to just show, like, we can do things that we might think is so simple.
Yeah. It's
Use
silly,
that,
right?
yeah, use that for God's glory and to meet the needs of the people.
So let me ask you, what do you think, according to the Bible, is the responsibility of the church to meet the needs of the community?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. Obviously, for us as believers, we want to proclaim the gospel.
Mhm.
That's like the overall thing, to tell the world about Jesus, foster fellowship, and to make disciples. But in order to do those things, in order to help people to understand how important it is to build that relationship with Christ,
Mhm.
we have to meet the needs of the people. We have to meet the most basic needs, so that they can understand that with those things, we were able to do that for them because it was done for us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important for us to meet those needs.
So let's just talk about your community, where you're
Mhm.
from. Where are you from?
I am from Nueva Jersey, Estados Unidos.
And the town in New Jersey?
It's Pennsauken.
Okay. So let's talk about the needs in that community. What stands out to you?
So when it comes to Pennsauken, it's a lot of different things that stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly what I see is the need for them to know that there is a church community there. And the reason why I say that is because people that live in Pennsauken, there's so many different churches. I would say it's predominantly Catholic. That's what they know, like the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
I can say there's one right next to my church, literally right next door. That when I refer to my church, they're like, what? There's a church there? That's a church? We thought it was a daycare. And it's like, no. And when I say I go to church on Camden Ave, that's the street it's on, they think of the Catholic Church right away. But just the need, I think it's more of a spiritual need. We don't know what's going on indoors because people are not, they're outside. But what we see in other neighborhoods, like our next door neighbor, which is Camden, which is one of the worst cities in the United States, the need is so greater, and we see it. Like we
Mhm.
can see the need, we can see the addiction problems, the prostitution,
Mhm.
the homelessness, where Pennsauken is more, I believe, is more of like a spiritual need. Like they need
Mhm.
to know that the church is there.
Yeah.
And it's not the wealthiest town. We There's definitely people there that are on welfare. Um, or might have educational needs, like those kind of things, but we don't know them because it's like indoors. I don't know
They're
how to.
home all the
Yeah,
time.
and it's like, what is going on
Mhm.
inside that home? And I do believe that outreach is important in regards to us just going out and understanding our community,
Mhm.
like really talking to the people who's out there so we can understand. I think that's the greater need, to know exactly who our neighbors are
Mhm.
and find out what the specific needs are.
So, just to bounce off of that, what do you think are some ideas where church, in general, that
Mhm.
have that type of environment where
Mhm.
not many people are outside, it's very suburbial, everyone's indoors, they just go to work, get in their car,
Mhm.
there's no conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think are some ideas of a church, a local church in an area like that to reach out to the community? You said outreaches,
Mhm.
right? And I think we kind of discussed also your church does um, block parties. I was gonna say bomb
Mhm.
parties, block parties, and those are certain ways. What other things do you think?
Yeah, so our church has done that in the past, and I hope
Mhm.
we get back to it because it's such a great time.
Yeah.
But something else that we have done, and we're gonna do it again for Easter, to invite people to come to the service, um, is going out into the community in teams and different like parts of Pensacola. And not everyone go to the same location, just to
Mhm.
make sure we reach more areas, and kind of have like door hangers. And
Mhm.
obviously, if the person's outside, we want to make conversation with them.
Yeah.
If they're not, then they're not home. We just leave the door hanger there. But when we go there, not just say, "Hey, here's information about church service." Like,
Mhm.
no, actually be like, "Hey, my name's Kirmira. I'm from the local church. Have you ever heard of us?"
That's
No.
cool.
Okay, great. And then,
Mhm.
have a conversation with them. And it just really like get personal. Ask them for
Mhm.
their name. Like, oh, like, or have you lived here for a while? Like, really have regular human
Conversation.
conversations.
You mean not
Yeah.
through phone and text message?
No. Can't just call people randomly. Yeah.
That's really cool because it gives a name, a face to the name.
Mhm.
So like they're like, oh, we do pastor's church all the time. Now we know people from that church, and it makes them more comfortable to step through those doors, which is
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Yes.
So do you feel like has a church been more concerned with its own structure and its own people with inside the four walls, or do you feel like churches have? I'm just speaking churches at large.
Mhm.
Um, been more concerned about missions and evangelism and reaching out to the community. How do you feel like the vibe is?
I believe that it depends.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the location and the size of the
Yeah.
church. Also, is this a new church? Is this a church that's already grown that they can focus more on other things? Do they have leaders for these certain things? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that because of the fact that there are bigger churches where they can do more.
Mm-hmm.
They have more people to volunteer for things. They have more programs.
Yeah.
So they are able to concentrate on the church itself, the structure of the church, and also out. But I also believe, and this is something I learned with one of the outreaches that I am a part of, that I'm a volunteer, like you have to be like privately
Mm-hmm.
like sound minded and working on your private life, and
Yeah.
to be able to even go out in the public.
To be prepared, right?
Yes, and I would say the same for the actual church.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can we go out and do outreach, and the actual church itself, like
Mm-hmm.
our people, are not in good standing? And now what I mean in good standing is like spiritually growing, mature,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can send them out to be able to reach the community.
But not only send out, but also be prepared to receive the
Yes.
people you are trying to
Mhm.
reach, and preach and give salvation, and also have them come into a church that's spiritually healthy and
Mhm.
ready to disciple them as well.
Yes.
So many times we feel like we see churches that are just so in tune with the worship and the service structure, so on and so forth. And then you ask them, hey, what have you done for your community this week? And they're like, well, they know there's a church here.
Mhm.
And I'm like, but what have you done to go out to say hi? Like what you said about the door hangers. What have you done this month, or at least
Yeah.
to let the church know that there is, let the community know that there is a church here? Um, I love our church back home. There was this young individual who always went out. Our church is in Newark,
Mhm.
so it's the kind of same concept as Camden. And there's a lot of prostitutes, a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff. And so many times prostitutes would come to our church, ask for water and ask for food, certain things. And a ministry birthed out of this young individual, Sandra Merck. She was like amazing. She is amazing. She would put a team together and put a table outside before each service. So let's say our service starts at 7:30 p.m. She would put a table outside. Her and her husband were always there with water and crackers or food and stuff, and hand it out to prostitutes and say, "Hey, do you want, even on I mean like hot days, hey, do you want to come inside and just sit in the air conditioning just for a few minutes to cool off and stuff?" And why is all that, like, why are you doing that? Hey, those are all um shows compassion towards people, letting them know, hey, not only do we want to help you with your like thirst and hunger and cool off, but we also want to help you spiritually and let you know there is a community here that will love you, you know? So those are just one tactics of so many that a church in an urban area, but also in a like suburban area or a higher class area can do. It may not be water to a higher class, but it can be other methods like going to soccer practices and building community through there and letting them know there is a church, you know, in
Yes.
their community.
I agree. I would also say too, just churches working together,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just, oh, I'm church in Pennsauken and this is the only church that, everyone should go to,
Yeah.
and the only church that everyone should know. Like, when it comes to the body of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the building, it's the people. That's the body of Christ. That's the church that God wants to build. He
Mm-hmm.
said, I will build my
Yeah.
church, and the gates of hell will not prevail. So it has nothing to do with,
Territorial.
yes, it's not the building, it's the people.
Yeah.
We are the church.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be working with other local churches. Like, just because it's a Catholic church, they believe in Jesus. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
should be working together. And that's something that actually happens. Not specifically at our church that everyone knows, but some people do. Like, on Saturdays, we have prayer service at my
Mm-hmm.
church. And when I started going to the prayer service, I'm like, oh, there's a food pantry like every morning at the Catholic church. That is something that I can tell people about. Just because they go to my church doesn't mean they can't get resources or services from that other church.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good to know, like, and work with other churches and be like, hey, or even the parking lot. I think I told you about that
Yeah.
earlier.
I was hoping you
That,
shared it.
yeah, I just remembered. The parking lot. Our church, we I'm not gonna say we share spaces, but we kind of do. Like, it's a big like street area, and there's two churches there. So the Catholic Church has more than one service. We only have one. And it got to a point where one of the services were around the same time. So then our people like weren't able to park,
Mm-hmm.
and that can kind of hinder someone to be like, oh, there's no parking, I'm just gonna
I'm
go
out.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to come that day. So it's cool that priest, like, spoke with our pastor and moved the service, one of the
Wow.
services, so that we have that space for when our people come to church, which it's amazing, because it's not a, oh, we're better than you,
Mm-hmm.
or we want people to come here. It's a group
It's
effort.
unity.
It's a
and
unity.
and we may not believe the same thing, but hey, we can still work on working together.
Yeah,
Hey, that's really cool.
exactly.
um so another thing I want to just bring up is the church and its contribution to the community, right? There's a lot of things that the church does, programs or outreaches to give to the community. But the question I want to ask is, are we just offering fish to those in need instead of teaching them how to fish?
Hmm.
In other words, what I'm trying to say is, are we promoting lasting changes or just relieving the temporary needs
Hmm.
in our communities?
Yeah. I believe this is something that the church at large needs to continue to work on. This is
Mm-hmm.
an area we need to continue to grow in. And like we were saying earlier, like, know the needs of our specific community and the people that we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely need to evaluate, consider, and they need to walk through that process continuously. It's not just oh yeah, we found this out this one time. Like, it should be like something that we're always talking about, getting together. And if there's something new, then this is something we can share. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to just when I was thinking about this earlier, I was thinking about a job.
Mhm.
Like, let's say that someone really needs a job. They have no influence, no education on how to even start the process to get there.
Mhm.
Um, and if I go to them and say, here's a laptop, apply for the job. And they're like, I've never even used a laptop in my life. I don't even know how to do a resume. I don't
Mhm.
even know how to interview. I don't even have clothes.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that we can walk them in the process.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
a lot of people. I love to help people with their resume. Like, that's
Mhm.
like my thing. And it's so important because some people are very insecure.
Mhm.
I might say, like, well, what's your job experience? And they're like, I have none. Really? Well, where have you worked? And then
Mhm.
they walk me through it and what they did. And it's like, do you see how much
Yeah.
experience you have? Like, encourage them, help them to feel confident. And I believe when we walk them through that process, and like you said, not just giving them the fish, like really walking them through it,
Mhm.
then they'll be more confident. They'll want to be like, wow, this person really does care. And that's exactly what God does to us. He
Yeah.
provides comfort. Like he is very compassionate when it
Mhm.
comes to us. He wants us to be confident,
Yeah.
in him, but also like in who we are in him. Which
Yeah.
some of them won't get that right away when they don't know Christ right away, but they'll build it's a building of it. You know what I
But
mean?
when you show that compassion towards them,
Mm-hmm.
little by little, they do start
Mm-hmm.
walking in that confidence and saying, "Wow, this is awesome," and then they start doing it to others. But I love the fact that you like think you shared that you even gave clothes to someone that was right, that or give them clothes
Yeah.
if they don't have clothes. Like,
Mhm.
why not dress them up? Say, "Hey, just borrow this. Look good on your on your interview and
Yeah.
whatnot." And I think it's so important, especially during community outreaches, that it's not just giving out bags of food each Saturday and stuff like that. And there's no conversation. Is it one of these like, here you go, have a great day? Or is it like, hey, I'm seeing you every Saturday. Come to this pantry. Do I even know your life story? How can I come alongside you and help disciple you in this and get them in church, right? That way they can have a life transforming encounter with God. And then discipleship comes right after that, right?
Yes.
So, what's the end goal in all this community outreach? Is the community outreach just to say, hey, we fed 500 people? This might rub people the wrong way, but hey, no, each month we're feeding 500 people and blah, blah, blah. Or hey, now we have these people coming to our church. We have more diversity, so on and so forth. But is there actual life transformation in their lives? Are
Exactly.
people coming alongside them to disciple them?
Mhm.
Or are we just creating spiritual orphans saying,
Yeah.
another check, we have another salvation on the list for our ACMRs that we do every year?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's a hard check when people do community outreaches. Number one, check your motives. Like, why are we doing this? And is our motives just for numbers, or is it really our motives really for life transformation in Jesus Christ and walking alongside them in discipleship?
Mhm. And I completely agree with that because it does more harm than anything else. So we can't, if we're sitting here like you said, spiritual orphans, and just being like, oh yeah, this person got saved and that's it. Like,
Mhm.
Jesus literally, he walked by his disciples
Every day.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
And even when they messed up, they had someone to be accountable to,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that and they grew more and more.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they were ever perfect, but they grew.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they were able to do that for other people.
Yeah.
So it's so important for us to continue to grow. That's how the gospel is going to be spread. That's
Yeah.
how people are going to be more confident, more
Mm-hmm.
mature, be able to do more for the community. And even like someone might have like no aspirations to like build a business, and then
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden someone did it for them, encouraged them, and
Yeah.
now they're going to do something more for the glory of God.
That's
So
awesome.
I love that. I wanted to read Matthew 25:37 because it talks about us doing, when we do something
Mm-hmm.
for someone, we're doing it. When we do it, it's going to be for the glory of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So in Matthew 27:37 to 40, it reads, then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And when did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? The king will answer and say to them, truly I say to you, to the extent that you did it to one of these brothers of mine, even the least of them, you did it to me.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
how important it is for us to do this,
Yeah.
because we're not doing this for our own selfish gain.
Mhm,
It's
mhm,
not to say, oh, I checked it off, I'm a good person, because none of us are good,
mhm.
but we are doing this for
The
the
Lord.
Lord.
As if it were the Lord. Like,
Yes,
it's
because we were in his image.
every person's created. So every person that we see here on the street of Mozambique, we're always like, this person, I need to look at them as they are created in the image of God. But whenever we do something for them, hand them water or something basic like bread and stuff, it's so cool because it's saying like, hey, it's like as if you were giving it to Jesus himself. And we always have to have that mindset of every single person is you, I, every single person in the street in America, New Jersey, so on and so forth, are created in the image of God. And we ought to treat them in that way as well.
Yes.
So, where do you think we can, how can we show church balance in materialism and also in spiritual support? So, like, where do you draw that balance in that aspect of you give, but then also showing the spiritual support in the giving?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. When it comes to that, I feel like it's more of like we're not just giving them things just to give it to them. Like I'm not gonna go to Camden and like when I volunteer for outreach, we don't go to Camden and just be like, here's a necklace, like
Mhm.
here's a Coach purse. Like we don't do any of that. Everything that we have has a meaning and a
Mm.
purpose, and it's to spark conversation, one, but also to meet their basic needs.
Mhm.
Like it could be something as simple as a toothbrush.
Mhm.
They probably didn't brush their teeth in a week,
Yeah.
and you give them that toothbrush and it means everything to them. And it might have been something that was taken from them.
Yeah.
Even something as like soap.
Mhm.
Um, there's so much I can talk about with like the outreach that I volunteer with,
Yeah.
because it's just such an amazing program. But like even like they did something where they washed their feet
Mm.
and they asked them and they cleaned their wounds, and they were the people, our friends, we call them our friends in Camden were looking at the volunteers like, wait, what, you want to wash my feet?
Mm.
And it's like, yes, you're a human being. Like it, just because you're out here doesn't make you any difference from me. So even things like that, they're
Mhm.
basic needs. It's
Yeah.
not any, it's a material, but it's like it's something that they value, that they need, that to us is so small.
And it's also looking at them, hey, you're human
Yes.
as well. Like
Mhm.
humanity, compassion, and love.
Mhm.
And that's the greatest thing to do because Jesus, everything he did in two things, compassion and love.
Yes.
And through that, people came to transformation, you know?
Mhm. And I
Um,
believe with that sparks up the conversation. Like, why are you doing this for
mhm.
me? And it's like you can either tell them your testimony, like someone did this for me, and you can also tell them, and it was all because of Jesus. And then it's like, who is this Jesus? Or it could have been that they're mad at Jesus,
Mhm.
but then they see us comforting them, being there for them, and they're like, why is this person doing this?
For me, someone they don't even know.
Mhm.
So, what are some practical examples of churches that have worked in the community? Okay, so let's just say everyone in church has either a trade that they know or a career, so on and so forth in your church, right? So, how can they use their gifts, their talents, their trade, their career to help the community?
So this is something that I want to do so bad. And I feel like every job that I've gone to, I've always had, I call it the work Bible on every position, because one, it has all the instructions of everything I have to do, but it also has things that I know can help people. And I did that a lot when when I used to be a social worker in the beginning of my career. Because it's so important to have these things, because as soon as someone sparks a conversation with you and you see there's a need, you might have that information,
Yeah.
or know who to contact for that information. So at our churches, every church, someone is able to be a part of the change. Someone is able to be
Say
a
that
part of,
again.
and they are able to be a part of the change. It's important. We're all called to make disciples, not just you or I.
Yep.
Everyone is a part of it. So there might be a lawyer at the job, then someone might need help with a consultation, not knowing something.
Yeah.
They can't afford it. That person can probably either, it would be great, do it for free or do it at a discount. There might be a nurse there. They might need help and are going to the doctors, but what the doctor is telling them, it's not sitting right. So they can look for some guidance from someone at the church. I work at the courthouse. I have to be very careful with what I say because I'm not allowed to give anyone legal advice. But when it comes to the process, since I've worked in 2 different divisions, I'm able to give them some basic information. So when they do go to the courthouse, they're more at ease.
Yeah.
I
some
can
wisdom on it.
Yes, I can walk them through the process because, to be honest, the courthouse doesn't have the greatest reputation sometimes. So it helps when people are like that. They want to help. They want to help people in need. They want people to be knowledgeable because knowledge is very important. We want them to have the spiritual aspect, the wisdom of God and His love, but they also need knowledge, basic knowledge of everyday life in order to feel confident to walk in other ways.
Why withhold information from people knowing that that are suffering in certain areas and that it could help them? So just imagine a whole congregation coming together to help each other and the community.
I'm a real estate agent. I want to buy a house. It's expensive. I'm a real estate agent. Like Asian agent. So just like those basic things like are so important.
Help out.
I don't have health care. Oh, I can tell you where to apply so that you can get affordable health care or help or assistance through the state. Like those kind of things. Like it's so important. I would love to just have like a resource binder and then we're like
everyone in the church. This is what you do. This is what you do. Oh, you need something? Contact this person.
Need your house painted? Go here. Yeah.
It's not that you offer all your services for free or whatnot, but at least it'll help the community know that this person is a Jesus follower and it's somebody that you can trust and confide in. I can think of several examples here and back home. Even our pastor, he's an electrician and he would go gift his gift to other churches who need electricians and he would offer for free. And, oh, we need a panel or we need this or we need that or whatever. He'd take a whole team with them and with him and help that church. And they'll be like, okay, what's the bill? And he's like, don't worry about it. So why not gift your gifts to other people? Because at the end of the day, Jesus will take care of you, And even here, the church that we just went to on Sunday, you got to see it with your own eyes.
Yes, that was so cool.
It was really cool because at the end of the service, each month they have a physician, an actual medical doctor, that they go into this back room and they offer free medical care. And for people who cannot afford to go to the doctors or the hospital or anything like that, he offers his wisdom, his gifts, and his medical knowledge. And you got to see the line, right?
Yes.
Everybody was sitting there. It even came out the door. We even went in when a patient was in there. It was a little awkward, but it was really cool to see how people are just giving of themselves back to the community. And what does he get out of it? Joy, because he's helping people knowing they can't get medical care, but he can offer that to them. He does it every month, which is pretty cool. So again, just think about the whole church coming together and offer things to people who cannot afford or don't have the materialistic finances to get there.
Yes.
So I think, so what do you think about community and discipleship?
So when it comes to discipleship is so important. We also know that Jesus tells us to go out throughout the world and make disciples. And to a lot of people, they just think their mission mindset, meaning like overseas, knowing that our own backyard needs that discipleship.
Is a need.
Yeah, our kids need it. Like the youth at our church need it. Like everyone needs it, no matter what age you are or what part of, like what stage in life you're in. And discipleship is so important because we're not called to do life alone. We never were. And the Lord doesn't want us to be alone. Even though sometimes we want to curl in a corner and be like, leave me alone. But that's not what he wants for us. And it's uncomfortable for some people, especially if you're an introvert. but it's so important for us to have, and that's when it's so important for us to get to know people and build those relationships. But we can't expect someone to come to church, get saved, get baptized, and be like, okay, here's the Bible, do it on your own.
Figure it out.
Yeah, like no one did that. They didn't do that to me. I mean, correction. It did happen to me at one point. But I'm not gonna speak badly on the church because that's where I realized like I need Christ and I got baptized there. But there was a lack. This is an example of the church lacking in the community inside itself. There was a lack with discipleship. Like I didn't have anyone standing beside me to help me grow.
And thank God that didn't deter you though and
No.
push you away. Because many times through that lack of someone not walking by you in discipleship, many people just go back
Yeah.
to like, their old sinful ways because they don't have that accountability or they don't have that person saying, hey, Q, what's up? What's good? Like, did you read your Bible today? Are you coming to small groups, so on and so forth?
Yeah. And I will say, like, although I didn't leave the church, I was extremely open book, lukewarm. Like that's just what my life was because I didn't know
any better.
Yeah. But it was obviously until the Lord grabs a hold of your heart and it's like, all right, are you going to listen to me? Or are you going to keep you're going to keep bumping your head. Once that happened, I did, thank God to my sister and my brother-in-law. They connected me to their church, their young adults group, and I was able to find people who were like-minded and they spoke life into me and they're like, hey, let's have coffee. We were doing a book study. We had like a little book club and, we were able to go through that together. Cool. So it just made me feel more comfortable and it made more sense. And it drew me to that specific congregation because it had exactly what I needed. And like, of course I need Jesus overall, but I needed the people.
Yeah. And do you feel like your relationship with Christ grew deeper with that discipleship and people coming alongside you, accountability, all that?
It has definitely grown. And I would say every year it's different, but it's always going up. I haven't been taking steps backwards, even if I mess up. There's times we might mess up. That's just how we are as humans. But it never deterred me to feel ashamed or go back because I had that support. I was able to be very transparent. That's Transparency is so important. I was able to be transparent and like tell people what was going on, what I did wrong, and they were able to walk me through it and not judge me.
We listen and we don't judge. No,
that's true. We listen and we don't judge. Yes.
Okay, here's a question for you. Could it be that many churches do not see spiritual transformation or discipleship as part of their mission?
Do they though? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I mean, it should be a common thing.
It should.
A common knowledge thing. We see in the book of Acts, people coming alongside for spiritual transformation and discipleship. But unfortunately, many churches, I'm going to let you chime in, many churches lack that, and don't see that as part of their mission, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I get it because in a lot of churches, it's true. It's about numbers. It's about what they're bringing in. It's about what they can do for me. The image, like the lights, the music.
Fog.
We got elevation worship coming to our church, like that kind of stuff. And like it lacks spiritual growth. And I only say that because I've experienced it myself. Not as an individual, but going to certain churches and seeing like, wow, this is not it, and I would say every church could possibly have that issue at one point in time. I don't think it's always purposely done. I believe it's because of that specifically, like making those disciples and encouraging them to want to figure out their spiritual gifts and like be encouraged to like grow in the Lord and not stay where they're at. I would say my pastor is so good at that. Shout out Pastor Tony.
Hey.
He is just he is just so good at nurturing. And I believe churches need that. Obviously we have our Father in heaven. He's
Mm-hmm.
the greatest nurturer. But we need those people to walk alongside us
Yeah.
like we're kids and teach us, because we're supposed
And
to be
hold our
like a,
hands
yeah,
and
yeah.
walk us through this new journey.
Yes, because we're supposed to be like children and be a sponge.
Mm.
So I do believe that some churches, and I can tell because I can see the church, like, especially when I'm on the worship team at my church, and I'm not up there to get people riled up.
Mm-hmm.
I am on a mission. I am on the Lord's mission, and
Mm-hmm.
he is using me as a vessel to like pour out
Yeah.
his spirit, in the room. And but I can tell when, not to judge, but
Mm-hmm.
those
Mm-hmm.
people that either are going through something,
Mm.
could be spiritually dead. And then you have those that are like, I love Jesus. And
Yeah.
they're like at the front, praising the Lord, on their knees, crying, just everything, just being so unapologetic.
Yeah.
And I feel like the church needs that more, and just to show people like it's okay, like
Mm-hmm.
we're all broken.
Mm-hmm.
But that spiritual growth is so important. And it's like, but some churches don't show that to their church yet. Like they don't help them to get those spiritual gifts. Sometimes they don't even believe it themselves that
Mm.
those spiritual gifts still exist.
Wow. Yeesh.
You know,
That's a sad uh journey.
I always call it limiting God.
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you limit God
Mm.
and say that these things no longer exist when he can literally do anything? Like he came
Wow.
down in a human form through Jesus Christ. Like, how can you limit him? How can
Mm.
you think that he can't do these things when he's the one who created us?
Preach. Or sometimes church put limits on people,
Mhm.
or this is as far as your capacity go. Well, that's a different
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
But anyways, do
Yeah.
you feel like there is a gap between reaching out to community, right? Your church is doing like an amazing job reaching out to community, and a gap between spiritual transformation and discipleship. Do you feel like there's like, I'm not just saying your church, we're
Hmm.
talking about church at large.
Yeah. Why I'm saying that there's a gap is because how I was saying earlier is that we can go out in the community and do exactly what Jesus told us
Mhm.
to do, to serve,
Yeah.
if we're not mature.
Or spiritually prepared.
Yes, or spiritually prepared. We can't just go out there and think, "Oh yeah, we're gonna talk to this person on the corner selling drugs,
Hmm.
and think that everything's gonna be okay." Like that person you might go out there fearing that
Mhm.
something's gonna happen to you. Especially like when we go out to Camden, there's people coming to Camden that are from like super nice areas, like,
Yeah.
and they're coming into Camden, and
And you stand out like a sore thumb.
yes, you stand out, and people can feel
Hmm.
the fear in
Hmm.
you. They can hear it in your tone. They can see it in your body language. So we have to go out there with the full armor of God. Like
Yeah.
we have to know, like, know what you're about to go out to.
Hmm.
Stay
Hmm.
prayed up,
Yeah.
with other people, because when there's two or more, it's more powerful. Come together in prayer to really go out there, like it had, because it is a spiritual warfare. We can't
Hmm.
just go out there and think everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. In your own
Um,
flesh, in your own spirit,
mhm,
but in the spirit of God, prayed up,
mhm,
fasting, and
yes,
in unity with one another. Because
mhm,
if you're going out with one mentality and the other
mhm.
team is going out with their own individual mentalities, then it's not in unity.
Yeah.
It needs to be in one spirit and in one accord.
Mhm.
So,
And I do believe too that that spiritual aspect doesn't only include just prayer and telling them the word.
mm,
It also includes the serving part of it.
yeah.
Like, I'm coming out here to serve and love on you. That's exactly what Jesus did. He did not shove the Bible down our throat,
Mm-mm.
you know? Like, he literally, little by little, you know, and use examples, and like was understanding who we were. He was listening to
Mhm.
us. So I do believe, like, even with that spiritual aspect comes to serving, because that's the point,
Yeah.
you know? So if we're not ready, like you were saying, we can't go out into the community. We're
Yeah.
no good for the community.
Are you willing to wash people's feet on the street? Like, you look at Jesus's example throughout the whole Gospels. He
Yeah.
first did what? He served.
Mhm.
And then he said, "Oh, and by the way, I am the light. I am the truth."
Yeah.
So it was always serve first, meet the needs, compassion, and then it was
Mhm.
presenting the gospel. And sometimes we get that twisted versus bashing them with the Bible, so on and so forth. And
Mhm.
it's, "Oh, by the way, what is your need?" Even if we do, like, even if it comes to that where we do ask them, some people don't. I want to ask you about the ministry you're a part of. You brought it up a few times, and I know you're very passionate about it because you always glow when you talk about it.
Mhm.
Tell us what's the ministry you're a part of, what area it's in. Give us some insight on it.
Mhm. So the ministry I'm a part of is called Faces of Change. Is a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit organization. It is ran by Lucy Dubose. I'm giving her a shout out too. We're just gonna give everyone a shout
You
out
get
from
shot. You
Mozambique.
get shot.
Yes. So it's Lucy Dubose. That's her ministry. Her story is amazing. I can definitely show you in the future like some of her page, her Faces of Change page, so you can know
Nice.
more about her. But with this organization, we reach out to the people in Camden who we also refer to as our friends. We don't
Mm-hmm.
refer to them as drug addicts, prostitutes, homeless. Like they're literally our friends
That's
when we go
awesome.
out there. And we want to know them by name. So we would try to, that's how we would start the conversation. But what we do is exactly that. We do reach out to the homeless, people who are working in prostitution, even the drug dealers. We talk to literally everyone. We see someone out there, we're talking to you. You're the
That's
police
cool.
officer, we're talking to you. And what we do is we do go out there, we let them know about Faces of Change because it's really important, like we were saying, for them to know like who is out here, who can we go to
Yeah.
for specific needs. And what Lucy does is she helps a lot with people who are addicted to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we go out to the community, we bring toiletries because that's a top something we can use as conversation
Mm-hmm.
and see if this is something that might be helpful for them.
Yeah.
We don't assume that they're on drugs. Sometimes people are homeless and they're not necessarily doing drugs. So what we'll do is we'll ask them like, do you know anyone? And then they'll let us know yes or no, or that's actually me. And it's like, thank you so much for being honest. Like it's so important for us to
Wow.
acknowledge them and their truth, and then tell them about Faces of Change. Tell them that there's a meeting every Tuesday. Let them know that we can send them somewhere if they're willing to go away to a Christian treatment program.
That's awesome.
And then it's funny because they'll be like, well, I don't have IDs. That's fine. We can help you get those IDs. Well, I don't know. I can't detox anymore. That's fine. We can, like, they try to like get,
That is so cool.
yeah, like they try to put like their own barriers, but we always have,
Excuses.
yeah, like they say like this is a barrier, but then we actually, I'm gonna say 98% of the time, Lucy's ministry, like we have a solution, like something that's like we can help them with. And if we
Mm-hmm.
can't, we do have, if we know of any resources, we will tell them like, well, here's the food pantry. Here's where you can go when it's a blue zone, when it's cold outside. That we have those kind of things that we can help them with. We can't directly do it for them, but we can give them
The
information.
resources and
Yes. So we that's something that I just love. Like I personally have people that I've known of that have used drugs. Some of them have given their lives to Christ and are free from drugs. Some of them are still a part of that lifestyle, but we don't treat them any differently.
Yeah.
We treat them like they're human. And when we go out there, we just want to love on them. That's that's the whole philosophy. That's what she always says. Like, what do we do? Like, why do we do this? And we love people first.
Wow.
We do exactly what Jesus did. Jesus loved first. That's what he did. So we want to do the same thing and extend that to other people.
Wow, that's awesome. So do you guys just do it like once a month?
So it's usually I know that we used to do it every Sunday at one point, but during COVID, it did limit a lot of things. So when we started doing this again and incorporated more volunteers, then we started doing biweekly, so every other Sunday. And I know that we're trying to go back to every Sunday. We need volunteers. So that's like,
give your shout out. This is a
yeah,
platform.
we need volunteers, guys. It's so important for all of us to come together. And I believe that if your passion is to help people and you are someone who likes to listen and provide empathy, because we should all be empathetic, that's the perfect perfect
Yeah.
volunteering option for you. Like
Yeah.
this is it's the perfect one. And it's so important for us to give back. We shouldn't do everything just for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it should be from our own kind hearts. Like I love to say, and this is part of my prayer since I've been in Mozambique, is like, Lord, break my heart for what
Mm-hmm.
breaks yours. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to get all like sad about that, but it's true. Like break my heart for what breaks yours
Mm.
because you did that for me
Yeah.
and someone else saw that and they were there for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do that for someone else.
I feel like we, well, first is biblical, but I feel like we, as people who are saved
Mhm.
and have a relationship with Christ, have the responsibility to go out
Mhm.
and share the same with others.
Yes.
If people came near me, which I know who they were, and I'm so thankful because if they didn't, who knows where I would have been today, then who am I to withhold that gift to others? And sometimes we have this misconception of, I don't know the Bible. How can I go out to Faces of Change? I don't know the Word of God that well, or I'm too afraid to go out in that area of Camden, so on and
Yeah.
so forth. And we always say, hey, do you have a testimony where God took you out from?
Mhm.
That in itself is enough.
Mhm.
And you could share with them what God has done in your life and through your life to them. Because if God has transformed you, guess what? Hey, God can do the same for you.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a misconception of all of that. And I would like to give a shout out to your for volunteers of
Mhm.
just try it one time.
Mhm.
Just give it a shot one time and say, hey, you know what, Q? I'm just gonna just give it a shot and see
Mhm.
what it is that you guys do firsthand. And you, who knows, you may fall in love with it, fall in love with the
Yes.
ministry
Yes.
and the people themselves, you know.
And we have seen that. We do have, I'm going to say it happened more this past year
Mm-hmm.
where we've had a lot of our sister churches, and I believe other churches too that are not, don't quote me, that are Assemblies of God, that have volunteered at least once. And now they're like, we're going to do this once a month, our
Mm-hmm.
church. And not always the same people come out,
That's
but
cool.
most of the same people. Like it'll probably be the leader and then some other people, but churches like now it's really awesome. Like
Mm-hmm.
Lucy was saying, like, look, we have to book this church out like 2 months from now because every Sunday is now
That's
that
so
we go out is now
awesome.
packed, which is really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that it continues so that we can have more and build up leaders
Yeah.
too, because in order to do more Sundays, we need more leaders
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to bring people out. Mhm.
So share with us one testimony that kind of just stands out to you in your time of going out, Faces of Change, like one that's really impacted you personally.
Yes. So I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you one that impacted me going out there before I came here,
Mm-hmm.
and also one that I didn't specifically meet this person on the streets, but Lucy has helped them, and then we've seen
Mm-hmm.
the transformation. So the first one, the last time I went out with some volunteers, obviously, and I'm considered one of the leaders. So when I was out there, we went up to one specific person. It was freezing cold outside, like so cold outside. And she had this huge blanket over
And people
her.
are living out in that
Yes.
weather, right?
Yes. And I'm over here with gloves and a hat and everything. But she had a blanket over her and we went up to her, we are talking to her. I asked her for her name.
Mm.
She did not want to tell me her name. And when she did tell me, we knew that wasn't her real name.
Yeah.
But we kept talking to her. We were trying to see how did she get out here? Is she even from here? Like just having regular conversation. She told us where her need is, how she wants to get
Mm-hmm.
out of here. We were able to give her the flyer for Faces Change, told her like come out to our meeting, like
That's awesome.
told her we'll be praying for her. And then when we were done, we asked her if she wanted prayer. And we always ask that because it's so important for us to pray for people. Even if we like are probably like, oh, I don't know if they'll want it, you should still ask because you
Mm-hmm.
never know. And prayer is so important. So we prayed with her and we were all crying. And we were all crying. She was crying. I was crying. The women I was with, they were so cute. We were all crying. They were older. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say they were cute. And then when we were done praying, she told me her real name.
Mm-hmm.
She told me her real name. And that to me showed me that she trusted us. She trusted us. She saw us. we saw her and she
Mhm.
saw that we were hearing her, we were listening, and she made that connection, that relationship. And the
Beautiful.
relationships are so important out there because now when we go out there, I don't need to call you by the name that the streets gave you. I'm going to
Mm.
call you the
By your
name.
name.
Yes, by
Hey, that
your
is deep.
name.
Yeah.
So it was so good. And then when we were done, actually, one of the women that I was with gave them her hat, and then the other lady gave her gloves.
Wow.
And it was just like, I didn't even expect that part. I'm like, wow, I didn't give any of these things. But she told me her name. So that was like,
That
that was
and that in
personal.
itself.
Yeah, but it was very touching,
Mhm.
and she even looked at us in awe, like, why are you giving me this? And it's,
Mhm.
and even one of the women, her name was Mimi. I'll say her name. Shout out to Mimi. I loved her.
Mimi,
Yeah,
we
she
love
was
you.
yeah, she was
That's
like,
awesome.
I've had so many of these, honey. Like, just take it. Like,
Mhm.
because it means it means something to us, but it means more to them,
Mhm.
especially when they might have not had this type of treatment. I'm going to say treatment
Yeah.
from anyone in a very long time, to treat them this way in a positive way. So that's one. The other one is actually, I consider her a personal friend, and she used to come to our church. She was invited to our church, and she did have a lot of I'm gonna say like history, like of
Mhm.
trauma that she shared bits and pieces with me with throughout our friendship, and just problems in her life. I know she didn't have custody of her kids at that time. She was trying to get her life together. And I remember that she couldn't make it to church on Wednesdays
Mhm.
because she didn't have a car.
Yeah.
And again, we should use everything that God gave us as a ministry. So when I was making conversation with her, I was like, well, where do you live? She told me where she lived. I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I actually have to pass by there to go home after Bible study. I'll take you. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'll take you.
Mhm.
Like, she's like, in your car? I'm like, yes, it's a ministry. I'll take you in my car.
That's awesome.
So I took her home every Wednesday after Bible study. And I remember I asked her if she drove. I was like, do you drive at all?
Mhm.
Like, and she told me that she doesn't because she doesn't have a license, and she's been taking the test a couple of times. I think she said about 6 or 7 times and didn't pass it.
Mm.
So I told her, like, well, I can help you. Like, I'm like ready to help, make note cards, like everything. And she did not feel confident. I can tell she did not feel confident in
Mhm.
herself. And I didn't push it. I just said, if when you need help, when you're ready, I will help you.
Yeah.
Eventually she stopped coming to our church, like she wasn't coming as much. I find out later on that she ended
Mhm.
up relapsing,
Yeah.
and Lucy was actually able to help her to get into what is called the Hoving Home. It's a treatment program for women.
Wow.
And it's also a mommy and me, which is so nice. So eventually when you're there for a certain amount of time, you can bring your children if they
That's
have that
cool.
option available. So she did go there. I did see her at a banquet we had, and I was like crying with her because I'm like,
Mm.
you look so different. Like, you can see
Yeah.
the transformation. Like,
That's
she
awesome.
trusted God and God delivered, like, for real. So it was just so awesome. And I told her, like, I would, let's try to stay in contact, like, when you're done and if you
Mhm.
come back home. So she did actually come recently with the Hoving Home to let our church know, like, what they do, because it's one of the organizations that we support for
Mhm.
missions. And while she was there, she came. I gave her a hug, and I was like, I don't know if this is too personal, like if you're gonna answer, but like, are you driving yet? And then she told me that she got her license, and
That's
we both started like
awesome.
cheering on her. I think everyone looked at us like, what's going on there? And then she was like, you had such a great memory. I can't believe you remembered. I was like, how can I not remember?
Wow.
We spent time in the car together, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So it just is, it's so awesome just to see. And then she did also tell me that she was getting a phone soon, which is very, very important to
Mhm.
her and a big deal because it's a privilege.
Yeah.
A phone, people see it as a materialistic thing,
Mhm.
but to her, it's a privilege
Yeah.
because she didn't have it for so long, and now she can get
Get
something
one.
back to connect. So she asked me if I would be willing to connect with her and she'll get my phone number. And I was like, of course, like, ask Lucy for my phone number. I will stay in contact with you. And that just shows the relationship that you build
That you
with
built.
people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
trust.
Yes.
You know.
And I haven't seen her in months.
Mm.
And when we get together, it's like I didn't stop seeing her and we still
Cool.
connected. And I do pray that that continues, that
Mhm.
we're able to do that and I can be there for her and be a
Yeah.
support.
Wow, that is so awesome to hear the transformation of an individual that you took the time out. You didn't have to give her a ride. You
Mhm.
didn't have to take her to places. You know what I mean? But out of compassion and out of need,
Mhm.
you guys built this relationship together,
Mhm.
which is so cool. And imagine if the whole church did that,
Mhm.
met certain needs. It didn't cost you anything to drive her. You know what I mean? Sometimes it feels like an inconvenience out of our
Mhm.
own flesh because
Mhm.
it's like, we got to go here, we got to do this, and we got to do that. But take the extra 5 minutes and go out of the way to drop somebody off. And
Yes.
look how much her life has been transformed
Mhm.
because you saw the need in her life, you
Mhm.
know? Um, so Compassion Ministry, we're gonna link everything. I don't know if they have a Facebook. You'll send
Yes.
it all to me, and then we'll link it all in the show notes below.
Mhm.
And if you guys want to contribute, or if you guys want to help along, come alongside Q, so on and so forth, please. This is an amazing ministry. When we do go to the States, we are gonna come by and go out on one of those
Mhm.
Compassion Sundays
Yes.
with you guys.
Mhm.
I guess just to close out, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to share about the church community, and are we doing enough? Is there
Mhm.
any closing thoughts that you want to share?
I mean, it would say more of like when it comes to fulfilling the call, because
Mm-hmm.
it is a calling.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that the church can do better. So
Mm,
it should be something that we should always be evaluating,
yeah.
seeing the need, researching it, not just word of mouth, but also like, seeing what is going on in our area. It's something that we should continuously always do.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we don't do that, there's no results.
Yeah.
And I know like in Proverbs 29, it talks about like if if we don't have a vision, if the church doesn't have a vision, the people perish.
Mm-hmm.
So like there won't be
Mm-hmm.
any Christ followers if we don't do what we need to do for the
Mm-hmm.
community. We're gonna die out,
Yeah.
And it's not just so that we can grow the Christianity. Like it's
Or the
not,
church.
yeah, it's not
Mm-hmm.
just to grow the church, but it's so that we can make disciples and we can tell the world about the
Mm-hmm.
good news.
Yeah.
And we can all be transformed
Yeah.
continuously, because even us as disciples, um, considered mature Christians, we still need to grow. The growth doesn't stop
Mm-mm.
where we're at. I can't say like, oh yeah, I'm good now. I don't need
Yeah.
I need Jesus, but we're good where we're at. Like, no, I need him continuously.
Earned it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just feel like we all have um, a responsibility in our own walk with God to spiritually grow every day. You know, sanctification is continually working out your salvation, but also help others in that as well. And are we reaching out to our community? Are we even, like you said, are we even knowing the needs in our own community, our backyard? Sometimes we're so missions focused, which is bomb, which is amazing. But
Which is bone.
muito bom. But we neglect the needs in our own backyard, like having book bag drives or having, I don't know, community outreaches where you give out food and clothes and so on and so forth, praying for people. I just feel like we need to reassess, either if that's monthly or quarterly or yearly, reassess who's in your community, what is the need, and who are the people who are living in the houses around you.
Yes.
So I think this was a great conversation. I just want to thank you for coming abroad with us and sharing about Faces of Change and everything that's going on in your community. We pray that it just continues to grow and blossom, and that people just come alongside you to come alongside those who are in need. So thank you, Q.
Thank you.
Next week, I think we have one more podcast, but it's with Nema. So that's going to be really awesome. But we just want to thank everyone for coming to this podcast and joining in on this conversation. And we just pray that God continues to use you in your ministry and in your church and in your community. So shout out to everyone for joining us. We thank you. We thank you. And as we say, until next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.